We're talking about mental health, and the new sets of guests who are joining us now is Dr. Anjali Chhabria, psychologist and director, Mind Temple Institute; Abhinav Bindra, India's first individual Olympic gold medalist, also founder, Abhinav Bindra Foundation, Padma Bhushan awardee and Khel Ratna awardee. So let me start with you, Dr. Anjali. Mental health issues have long been equated in India with psychotic disorders, like symptoms like destructive behavior, hallucinations. But lately, and in part thanks to COVID, an increased awareness of mental health issues has shifted the focus to common but less obvious mental health symptoms. The conversation about mental health issues like depression, anxiety, attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity and learning disabilities have finally begun. So everything that COVID brought out into the open, how do we really carry this forward, Dr. Anjali?
So first of all, thank you for including me in this show today. I'm a psychiatrist, a slight correction there. And October 3rd to October 10th is the Mental Health Week. You know, I'm very happy that we have finally started discussing psychiatric disorders, and we are no longer looking at people who visit psychiatrists as mad people. Now, what we need to do is we need to give emotional health as much importance as we have been giving physical health in the last 1.5 years. Because you will agree with me that there is no health without mental health. So we need studies, we need people to go, we need the entire government to have programs where we are going house to house and checking out what is happening to people there. There are so many people who have been orphaned. There are people who've lost their jobs. Senior citizens have been affected. The healthcare workers, as you've been seeing, have been affected. And what happens is these people may not even know that they are affected, because on the surface, they seem to be normal. But just scratch the surface and they're not able to do the best. So we need to all come together with strong mental health ambassadors like maybe Mr. Bachchan himself, you know, to tell people that yes, if you have a problem, please go and meet a mental health professional. Take a medicine if you need to. Do not shy away from taking a medicine. Do not listen to your chemist or somebody else who will say, oh, ye to neend ki dawaiyan hain. As we take our medicines for diabetes and blood pressure, we must follow the advice of our doctor. So we definitely all need to come together, because it's only then that we will know what is really happening in our country. And we will not either romanticize mental health problems or we will not put them under the carpet.
Thank you so much for these views. I absolutely agree with what you have said. I do work for an organization on mental health, and one of the primary things that they advise is to talk about it. And just be able to speak to somebody and say that, look, this is what I'm going through. And that in itself is a huge, well, it's like an opening towards the problem. And so we have Abhinav Bindra here with us. Very proud of you, and you make the country and all of us very proud. You know, more and more sports people, Abhinavji, around the world are now talking about mental health issues and stress and pressure. You're one of the few Indian sports people to have talked about it very openly, and in the context of your 2008 gold medal win in Beijing. So how important is it for sports people, heroes and stars that people look up to, people like Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles and Ben Stokes, to be open and upfront about such things? Because I feel it goes a long way in destigmatizing mental health and the problems that it carries, and saying it's okay to talk, which I was just saying. You know, one of the initial things that I was educated on when I joined this association that deals with mental health is that to urge people to talk about it, because a lot of them just keep quiet or are shy about it, and we never know the problem.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. I think you make an excellent point. I think it is very important for for stars or well-known athletes to come out. It really gives power to the larger ecosystem to deal with this issue. I think there has been a long-standing misconception in the world of sport that athletes are immune to any kind of mental health issues. But on the contrary, I believe that athletes are perhaps even more prone and have more triggers in their journey. There is always dealing with failure. There is also a matter of dealing with success. There is the physiological stress of training can also lead to mental health issues, injury, an impending end of a career transition. There are lots of red flags in an athlete's career which can potentially lead to mental health issues and mental health disorders. The pressure of competition, for being judged almost every week. It is one of the few professions in the world where, we are appraised pretty much every week. In normal jobs, perhaps your profession, sir, comes closest where, whenever your movie is being released, you're going to be judged on your performance. But as athletes who compete quite a lot are judged almost every week, which puts a lot of pressure on athletes. And what has led to happen is that there has been a dehumanization of the athlete. The entire focus has been centered around how do you win medals? How do you become better as an athlete? But not enough work has happened in the holistic well-being and the holistic development of us as human beings. And that is really the area to focus on, especially in a country like India, where I believe the next decade or so will be a decade for sport, which will mean that we will have many more young athletes taking up sport, playing sport, which will also mean we will have a lot of athletes fail in sport, because that is the very nature of sport. And we all have a collective responsibility to work on it and really make human well-being the heart and center of performance. That will really help athletes get to their truest potential, but also develop holistically as human beings and also be able to sustain success. So, of course, all athletes who are speaking up on mental health issues has really helped. I think the only silver lining of the pandemic has been there have been a lot more conversations revolving around mental health. Skeptics and naysayers of mental health suddenly had symptoms of their own. So I think there is a greater appreciation of mental health issues, and the amount of conversations, even in the world of sport, that are happening now have been more than ever. So I think it is the right time to really deal with it, but it is a lot of work. It is about really working the entire ecosystem, because there is one thing about dealing with mental health issues and creating resources for athletes, but it is also about creating psychologically safe environments for athletes to participate and compete in sport.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abhinavji. Just another point on what you spoke. I had the opportunity to meet Neeraj Chopra, our gold medalist in the javelin throw, and during the course of his preparation for the Olympics, sometime he injured his elbow, and he went into such a depression. He was saying he felt, my career is over, my life is over, and I'll never be able to, get to the point where I want to be able to compete and join the Olympic team and so on. But he, I think, took some advice, took some mental advice from people. He worked his way through that, got rid of this terrible feeling within him, and look what happened to him. So I agree that, this kind of thing happens to most athletes. And wonderful points that you made, Abhinavji, is that is failure. When you're an athlete or a sportsman, failure is one thing that affects you deeply, as does a lot of people in the art world, for especially where there is competition in the film world. You have a failure and your whole world just crumbles in front of you, and you need to battle with that.
I think his foundation is doing a lot on these things.
So, Abhinav, I'll just take up from what's said, and I think that one of the things that we don't really, or probably aren't really teaching the youth today that wants to enter into the world of sport, the importance of mental well-being. And I'd love to hear more about your foundation. We hear you're doing some incredible work in the field of mental health and for overall health and well-being. Could you shed some light upon that, please?
Well, athletes, and I was equally guilty of believing in an equation through many parts of my career that a gold medal equals happiness. But in all reality, we have to learn to reverse that equation and make happiness our gold medal. If you're able to do that, I think we will be more successful and we will be able to reach our truest potential. We sometimes achieve goals, but we always struggle to achieve our truest potential. And if we really take care of our well-being, I think it just betters our chances of achieving our fullest potential. That's what one of the aspects of the work that my foundation is doing is really to educate the whole ecosystem. It's not just about educating the athletes. It's also about looking after the mental health of coaches. They play a very, very important role in an athlete's life. It is about sanitizing the entire entourage that surrounds the athlete and building these psychologically safe environments. At the moment, we are very outcome driven, and that is all right. We want to achieve great success, but there is more to life than winning gold medals. And I think it is very, very important for athletes to be able to participate in sport in psychologically safe environments. And a lot of work what we're doing at the moment is in advocacy of creating these environments. It's about educating ecosystems around this. But we've gone deeper as well. Athletes are assessed on a yearly basis on their physical prowess. We've just introduced within ecosystems across India the International Olympic Committee's assessment and recognition tool on mental health, where athletes are now also being assessed on yearly or a couple of times a year on their mental health, which I think is wonderful to see. It has already created impact because it gave strength to athletes who were struggling to really seek help. And that is a little contribution that we are making in this direction. But again, we have a long way to go, but heartening to see many conversations at the moment surrounding mental health and even the world of sport within India taking this aspect quite seriously.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dhilanji, I'd like to ask you this next question. It's been a very long journey from your TikTok campaign to your Dettol campaigns. And what were the learnings that you got from that? And how did this come about?
Yeah, actually it's, whenever we make any communication, we always try to make sure that there is a strong emotional angle attached to that. Mm-hmm. So last year, when the pandemic had just started, there was a lot of confusion, and a lot of our panelists today have spoken about that there was a lot of confusion. People were not really sure about what they needed to do. And we decided to get the right information, make the right information available to people. But we were also aware that at the same time, when there is confusion, there can be irritation, there can be anger, there can be frustration. And therefore, we converted that message into short videos, which were then circulated via social media, leveraging a lot of influencers. And that created, that made sure that the message was going across, but also it was done with the right emotion attached to that. And, the campaign reached out to 350 million people across the country. People created their own videos, and in fact 75 million videos were created by people creating their own version of the message and spreading it. Now when the second wave came, people knew what needs to be done. So everybody knew that haath dhone hai, social distancing maintain karni hai, mask. But some of the earlier discussions you heard, they were really heart-wrenching stories this time around. So we said, okay, we need to say something, because as a brand, Dettol is trusted by millions of people every day. And that's why we said the hook for us this time should be hope. And the source of hope is exactly the kind of stories that we heard today. Everyday people doing extraordinary things. We said there is a message here that is not being spread out. How can we take this message and spread out? And what we did was we took our packs, our hand wash packs, and we dropped the logo from the pack, but instead of that put stories of everyday people like Rajesh Dora, like Jitinder Shanti, people like those, and we took 100 of those stories and we put them out and made them available for people. First we did it online, and then we actually made the physical packs and we got them across to 5 lakh stores inside all across the country. And we also then, because we started getting some positive responses, we set up a website where people could nominate their own heroes. It could be somebody who lives in your building, who helped you get an oxygen cylinder, or who helped you get the contact for a medicine or whatever during that period. And 180,000 people, nominated other stories like that. And I think the stories were a way to express gratitude, but were also a way to create a sense of communal hope. कि अगर हम साथ में मिलके किसी भी चुनौती का सामना करें तो हम उस चुनौती को के सामने जीत सकते हैं. And that, I think, sense of hope is what we were able to create. And I think you spoke about it also. And I think that's something that I think is a responsibility that we as brands have, and we take it very seriously.
Yeah, thank you.